Doesn't matter how much information you have, how many books you read, right? That will not bring you into the spirit world. That is just information. The information really deals with your mind. But the spirit world has to deal with God, deal with something beyond the mind, right? Beyond information, beyond intelligence, beyond comprehension. The spirit world is a connection into the world beyond our own timing, beyond our own time. Because when we're talking about stuff happens in the spirit world, we're talking about the things that there's no evidence to prove that these things is happening, which means that they're not happening in real time. So how can we be getting information from somewhere that's not happening in real time? This has to be what we call the spiritual information, connected through the spirit. The spirit goes beyond the natural and physical world, goes beyond information, right? So which means that there's something has to bring you beyond our real time. You cannot just transform into the future, right? Something has to bring you there. And the one thing that has to bring you there is what we call faith. Faith is believing in things, but there's no evidence of it. And most people, this is how we've been connected through the spirit world, through dreams and through visions, right? But you can also connect to the spirit world through you understanding that there's things in the future that you might aspire to become, want to become, right? And how do you know that you can become these things? Do you feel it in your spirit that you can become these things? Because there's something beyond the physical world that's telling you one day, yes, you can accomplish this, right? But it's only through the spiritual world you can able to actually understand or comprehend the things that are not physically here. There's no evidence of it, but in the future they will manifest themselves and come to reality. And this is why Jesus says in the Bible, just paraphrasing in the book of John chapter 4, verse 23, it says, those who worship God must worship God in spirit and truth, because God is the spirit. You cannot worship Him in the physical. By the physical, I mean by what's inside your mind. And remember, the mind is just packed of information. And this is why I said, doesn't matter how much information you have on God, how intellectual you are, you cannot connect to God through information, through your mind, because that's in the flesh. But you have to connect to God through the spirit, which is not based on information, but it's based on faith. And in the book of Hebrews chapter 11, when we talk about the faith, and the author is trying to explain what faith is, you can see that faith is an active word, right? But springing from the spirit, which means that everything that these guys in Hebrews chapter 11, like Moses and Enoch and all these things that has been explained in Hebrews chapter 11, all of these guys were living in the spirit. They were connected to God, right? But faith is the part now where they've been active, where the things that they have understood through the spirit, through the visions, when God tell Abraham to leave his country and go into this land that was shown through the spirit. This was shown to Abraham through the spirit, that there is a different path over there. But he has no idea. He has no idea what when this is going to happen or how. But he started the process by having faith, which means that he believed in the spiritual stuff by having faith. Because God have shown him stuff to come in the future, many years to come. Same thing with Enoch, same thing with Abel, and same thing with Rahab. All of these guys were tapped into the spirit world, because God were able to show them into the future, and they believed, and this was counted to them as faith, because they actually takes the step just based on a vision How many of us have a vision? A vision to be something in the future, a vision to actually leave a family, or a vision to take a different move, a different approach in life. How many have those visions, but we never exercise the faith to take the step and said, hey, this vision have been shown to me by God in the spirit world. Was not shown to your friend or to your families. This is why they never understood. They never understand when you say, hey, I have to do this or I have to do this, right? A lot of times, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of doubts in a lot of people's mind when they're trying to exercise faith, right? But you have to understand that you cannot bring yourself into the spirit world. Something has to bring you into the spirit world to show you things that's not possible, or things that are not even clear to you as to how these things will happen. And that's why it says faith is the evidence of things not seen. And in order to operate in the spiritual world, you have to operate through faith. You have to believe and you have to take steps, because faith is the operative word. Taking steps in things that you have seen. Because your spirit, when you do come into the spirit world, believe me, if you do having a vision in the spirit world or a dream, your spirit will speak to you in the spirit world. Because your spirit is speaking to the spirit of God in the spirit world. There's a conversation, there's a life happening in the spirit world beyond the physical world. All right? And the only place that reading and all of these information is going to make you super smart, super knowledgeable, but it's not going to bring you into the spirit world, because God has to take you into the spirit world, and it's not based on the information that you have, right? But when you get into the spirit world, believe in it, have faith in it, go out and do something, manifest what's been shown to you in your spirit. It's not about what somebody else says, but it's just for you to actually manifest these things for yourself by believing in it. And once you believe in it, you will take steps towards it. And that is showing faith. In the spirit world, it might seem like some of these things are foolish, because they're so, they're so complex. And some of these things, you look at it and you're like, wow, that's not possible. How is this possible? How would this be done? But that's your mind that's telling you that, right? Because the mind can be confused with the spirit, because the mind also is dealing with imagination, things that are not seen as well. But those are different things that are not seen. These are made up information in your own mind, stuff that you want to see manifest, stuff that's created, because your mind is also a creative tool, which can easily be confused with what God is showing you in the spirit. So you have to separate these two. You have to understand what God is showing you in the spirit, right? Because the things that God is showing in the spirit, they will come to pass regardless, right? They will. And by being in the spirit, then you will know when you're in the spirit, because the connection that you have, it will be different, right? You will have this super connection where you actually sense in your spirit that this is of God. This is not really just your mind playing tricks on you, right? Even though it's very difficult to distinguish the two, right? But you have to understand that the spirit is also the evidence of things not seen, right? But try and be in the spirit. Even when you're reading in the Bible, when you read the Bible in the spirit, you understand different than when you read the Bible in your mind, because your mind is only analyzing information, and the things that are possible to the mind is the things that information and the physical world, where your biological clock, your biological function, and everything is telling that these are possible. Because in the physical world and your mind, everything will tell you that these are possible. But in the spirit world, you're going to be dealing with things that are impossible, that you yourself will like, how is this supposed to happen? And sometimes this is how you're going to know that these things are of the spirit world, because Your human nature cannot understand it. Your human nature cannot comprehend these things. And that's why these things have to be exercised through faith. There's no evidence, there's no proof that these things can happen, right? Because of your nature, of your physical nature in the mind. But when you operate in the spiritual world, then these things is possible because God is showing you that these things are possible, regardless if you believe in them or not.